So when is the best time to buy a house? Well, after this video, you're gonna know when that is, and it could save you thousands of dollars.
Your trusted real estate source, one video at a time.
What's going on, guys? Alex here. Thanks for tuning into my YouTube channel again. In this video, I'm gonna let you guys know when the best time to buy a house is so you can get the best deal possible. Now, if this is your first time tuning into my YouTube channel, I want to welcome you. This channel is designed all around real estate. I'm a real estate agent out here in Washington. So if you have interest in learning more about real estate, think about hitting that subscribe button down there. Let's jump into the video. So I'm gonna give you the 5 tips or outlines, you could call it, of when the best time to buy a home is. And number 1 is you need to buy a home later in the year if you can. This is because all the inventory on the market have been people that either didn't sell their house in the spring, so their house has been on the market for a very, very long time, or these are sellers that need to relocate for a job, or maybe they had a family issue and they needed to sell. Maybe it's a financial issue. Whatever the reason is, these sellers are motivated, they need their cash, so you can carve out a very nice deal. Now, this isn't saying that inventory during the spring don't have people that need to move because of financial issues, maybe a job relocation. We just see this happen more during the winter months because it isn't the prime selling season. So most of the inventory that is on are sellers that are highly motivated. Number 2, interest rates. What are interest rates doing? And right now they're historically low. They're below 4% for a 30-year fixed mortgage, which if you look back, just type it into the internet, historic mortgage interest rates, they are very low. Now, a slight change in interest rates, even by 1%, can dramatically change the amount of interest you're gonna pay over the life of the loan. For example, if you bought a $300,000 house and put $60,000 down, so you took out a loan of $240,000, and say you took out a 30-year fixed mortgage. Now, back in 2019, earlier 2019, I should say, interest rates were around 5. With that interest rate, you would pay about $223,000 of interest over the life of the loan. Now, 2 years prior in 2017, interest rates were down around 4%, so 1% lower, and you would pay $172,000 of interest over the life of the loan. That's a $55,000 difference with a 1% change in mortgage interest rates. So when we're talking about mortgage interest rates below 4%, in my opinion, it's free money. It's a no-brainer that on the mortgage interest rate side, this is a great time to buy. Now on to number 3, and this is when it is financially optimal for you to buy a house. For example, maybe you just got a family inheritance. Maybe you just paid off high interest debt like credit cards. This is a number 1 priority if you have high interest debt, to pay that down as much as you can, or to zero preferably. Another one could be maybe you just sold your house after living in it for 10, 20, 30 years and you have a ton of equity and now you want to buy a new home. And maybe you just got married and now you have 2 incomes that you can use to get approved for a mortgage. So all these are examples of maybe where you're at in your life. You need to decide if it's the right time to buy a house. But the number 1 priority is pay down all that debt if you can, so you have a clean slate when you take out a mortgage. All right, number 4, when inventory is high, you can take advantage of a buyer's market. Keep in mind, when inventory is over 5 months, it's considered a buyer's market. Out here in Washington, where I'm at, in most parts, it is a seller's market. Specifically where I'm at, it's below 1 month of inventory, right? So there's a ton of competition for all the homes coming on the market. But when you have very high inventory, say like in New York City, when there's so much supply out there and demand is steady, you can carve out a really nice deal on a home. Now, statistically speaking, we see the most inventory during the spring and the summer months. And this makes sense because people are selling. They want to get into a new house before the school season starts so they can settle in. Now, During the winter months, like I touched on previously, you can still carve out a very nice deal because all these sellers are most likely very motivated and they need the cash fast. Now, a great example of inventory being really high, if you're still kind of confused, would be like New York City. With New York City, inventory is extremely high. There's just so much supply out there and the demand stays steady. So what you have is all these sellers on the market trying to find ways to sell their house. And as a buyer, you can take advantage of that opportunity within the market, and you can probably submit an offer way below ask and you're gonna get a counter and you can probably carve out a really, really nice deal. Now, on the other hand, where I live in Washington, with inventory being extremely low, it is a very, very competitive because every house that comes on the market, there's probably multiple buyers looking at that property and probably multiple offer situations. So you need to come in with a good solid offer if you want to have your offer accepted. Now the last one, number 5, how is the economy doing? And indicators that you can look at to see how that translates over into the housing market is unemployment rates and job growth. Okay, and job growth is the number one indicator to the housing market, because when we have jobs, when we have high paying wages, we're gonna have people spending money, which is good for the economy, people buying houses, developers can build more homes, and that leads me into new construction supply. When you see a lot of developers and new construction homes being built, this almost always alleviates the pressure with appreciation because you're putting more supply on the market. Now, I know there's some question marks going into 2020, 2021. Is there a recession coming? What I can tell you is out here in Washington, and if you live in a different state, it could be different, but our tech companies out here, Amazon, Microsoft, they're so strong. They're bringing in so many employees and they're paying out great wages that I really think it's going to alleviate Washington if there is a recession, just because of our tech companies and our unemployment is extremely low. However, if you're on the edge of buying a house and maybe you want to wait for the market to fully bottom out, you can do that. But in reality, no one knows when it's going to bottom out. No one knows if there will be a recession. It's all talk at this point. So if you sit on the sideline for a year or two, and then you let a couple more years go by, you possibly could have been building equity in that home. It's like waiting to buy the S&P 500, like an index fund or something, and you wait 30, 40 years, or even 5 or 10 years, and you could have gained all that appreciation over the years. Warren Buffett, a famous investor, has a great quote that I love, and he says, "Market fluctuations are your friend, not your enemy." So if you're in a liquid position going into possibly a recession, then you can capitalize on lower prices in real estate. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in for this video. Stay tuned for the video coming this Friday. As always, I appreciate the support, and we'll see you then.